Next, we're going to take a look at some extrusion options for Cinema 4D. And this happens when we have spline objects or objects that are flat. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So in the Objects Manager, I'm going to select all these objects. I'm just going to go ahead and delete them. And I will adjust my camera. Now this time I'm holding down the Option key and using my left mouse key to just move and orbit the camera this way. And next we're going to take a look at the text object. So if I click and hold on the Bezier or these options up here next to the primitives, you see that we have some basic things like arcs and circles and stars. But all of these are flat objects. They don't have actual dimension yet. So I'm going to go to the text tool, and you can see that I have some text, and you can see that it's flat, it's empty, it doesn't have any volume to it just yet. I'm going to slide this along the x-axis, and then let's take a look in the Attributes Manager for the controls that we have for this. So under Basic, I have some basic properties here. So I'll go ahead and enter some text for that. And then the actual object itself has the text properties. So I'm going to put in the text that I want to appear. And we also have controls that are typical for selecting font size. And this gives us a nice preview of the fonts that we want to use. And then whether or not it's regular or bold, and then the size. So I'm going to slide this over a little bit more, and I need this to be a little bit smaller. So the height value, think of the height value as the font size, so I'm going to just bring that down. I'm just using these scrubbers to bring that down, and then I can adjust this. And you can also adjust camera view just by doing this. But again, you can see that the text just doesn't have any volume. If I orbit around it on the backside, see that it's just all flat. So we want to give it dimension. The way that we do that is with a NURB. In this particular case, what I need is an Extrude NURB. You can see that there's a lathe NURB, sweep, Bezier, loft, but Extrude NURB that I need. So I'm going to click on the Extrude NURB, and nothing happens just yet. What we need to do is we need to put the text inside of the extrude, and that will create a parenting situation so that the extrude object will actually extrude the elements that are its child. So I'm going to take this 3D animation and I'm going to put it inside of the Extrude NURB, and now you can see that we have some extrusion going on. So right now in the Objects Manager, the 3D animation is set. I want to click on the Extrude object, and now I can actually see the movement, the depth, the divisions. So right now it's only 20 centimeters for the depth. I can increase or decrease that, depending on what kind of effect that you want to go for. And yes, this is an animatable property, so if we wanted to animate that, we could animate that going back and forth. On the caps, right now we have caps and fillets and fillet caps. So if I put a fillet on that, you can see that it gives it kind of an edge. And then there's a fillet cap. You'll see that gives it some bevel. And then there's different fillet types. So we can change the way that that looks just by choosing some of these options. And then you can change the radius to make it more or less. So there's a lot you can do with the extrusion, but now we have some text that looks like it's, it has depth now, it has some size. Now, what if we wanted to change the color of the text? Well, that comes into materials. So right now it's all this gray, and any type of object, and even the objects that we've created that are primitives, they all have this basic vanilla kind of grayish look to them. And that is just a default material that gets applied to the objects before we make any kind of actual materials. And the material manager down here, we'll get into that in a little bit, and that will allow us to paint essentially our 3D objects. Next, we're going to take a look at some of the other options for creating revolve modeling. So right now we've explored this already in Illustrator. We've explored it a little bit in Photoshop. So now we want to take a look at how that works inside of a Cinema 4D. So we'll take a look at that at the next video.